Hello grade 9, it's Miss Cartwright here. I hope you're all well. I hope you had a really nice Easter break with your family and that everyone's keeping safe and well. I miss you guys. Looking forward to being in the classroom, being back in the classroom soon. In the meantime, we're going to continue with the online learning. Thank you all so much for your hard work. I'll continue to set work every Monday on Plus Portal, so you'll need to log on, download the document. I'm also going to start sending a few videos like this one, so you'll see the link to YouTube there, and I'll send the PowerPoint along with you as my camera skills aren't that great, so you can download that and use the notes there as well. So remember, you'll be doing the work from the document, not from Jesus and His Legacy. The notes from Jesus and His Legacy are there to help you, but then they won't be graded, okay? So I advise you to organise your work properly so that it's completed in time. It needs to be uploaded through the e-locker. Please see the videos that I've sent if you're still struggling with that. If not, contact administration. It should be uploaded by the following Monday at 3 o'clock. If it's going to be late, please contact me beforehand. So this means before 3 o'clock on Monday, and I might be able to give a 48-hour grace period. If you don't contact me, that 0 will remain a 0 and will not be changed. If you have any questions about the work, if there's anything you're unsure of, please let me know. The WhatsApp group is there for these sorts of questions. Please don't WhatsApp me in a private message when it's something that actually other people might be asking too. So you'll see in the future now, if you message me privately with a question about the work, I will answer it in the main group so that everyone is on the same page. Just a reminder again, check how many marks each question is worth so you know how to develop your answers. So this week we're doing lesson 5, and it's just going to be a review on the very, very short unit on the Eucharist. So what I'd ask you to do is to watch this video and then to answer the questions in the document. Try not to use your notes. I know that I can't police that, but it'll be good for you if you see what you can remember and try to do it in exam conditions. So don't spend more than an hour, 50 minutes on it, okay? So just a reminder back to the Last Supper. So this was Jesus' last meal with his disciples before his crucifixion. They're celebrating the Passover festival. As we know, that commemorates the Israelites being saved from slavery. Jesus knew that he was going to die, and he wanted to give them instructions on what to do after his death. And the Passover table had lots of food that helped the Jews to remember their plight of being saved from slavery. And all of these things would have symbolism, and Jesus used these things that were on the table and to change their meanings. And he changed the wine to represent his blood that was shed for the forgiveness of sins. The bread represent his body that was broken on the cross, so that now everyone can enter heaven. And the cup that the wine was in represents this new covenant. The new covenant, which is brought by Jesus, replaces the one with Moses. And this new covenant meant that everyone could now approach God. Everyone could have a personal relationship. You don't need to go through a priest to do this. And this new covenant completes the old one rather than replaces it. And it's an everlasting covenant, a covenant that's going to last forever, that means that everyone will be able to enter heaven. So Jesus gave these instructions, and Christians still follow these instructions to this day by celebrating the Eucharist, and it allows them to remember the sacrifice that Jesus made and to commemorate this event. So centrality to Christian worship. So the early church was a community, a sort of idealistic community. They sold everything that they had and shared it between themselves. They made sure that everyone had what they needed. They gave money to the poor. Sort of, I would say, it's sort of ideal way to live. And every day they went to the temple and they worshipped God, and they thanked Jesus, and they also ate in each other's home. This act of fellowship together, of sharing things together. And Luke gives us a detailed account about how the Lord's Supper was celebrated, and he splits it into 4 parts. That there was teaching, fellowship, the Lord's Supper, and then prayers. So the apostles would teach about Jesus, his message. There would be fellowship, so they would come together and be together. The Lord's Supper, this would normally be surrounded by a meal, a communal meal that they would have together, and it would finish with prayers. And this way of celebrating it continued for some time, and they were focusing on the presence of the Lord, of celebration of the risen Lord. And then as the message spread, this started to change, and as we know, the message was spreading, and therefore people were celebrating, sort of changing the way things were done. And this was happening in Corinth. It was a very important place. It was very, very busy, import and export place, which meant that there was lots of different sorts of people there. And at Corinth, Paul had gone to preach to them. He told them how to celebrate the Eucharist. As we've said, it was usually celebrated around this communal meal, also called the agape, or the love feast. And when Paul left them, then he heard about how they were celebrating the Eucharist, and he was not happy. Okay, he saw that some of the things that they were doing was going against the true message of the Eucharist. There were divisions between the rich and poor, which meant that the rich often got there earlier because they didn't have to work on the fields and such. So they would get there and they would eat as soon as they got there, which would leave the poor, once they turned up after their hard day's work, they would have to go hungry. And some of them were getting drunk, were using it as a way to party instead of understanding the true message. And Paul was angry about this, so sent the letter to the Corinthians to remind them of the true meaning of the Eucharist, that it is a dramatization of the crucifixion. He reminded them of the meaning of the bread and wine, and that because of this, because of the instructions that Jesus gave at the Last Supper, and because of Jesus's sacrifice, that a new relationship between man and God is made. And Paul told them off, and he told them that whoever was guilty of performing the Eucharist in an unworthy manner was disrespecting the Lord. And this is quite a big claim to make. And he said that this was why some people had become sick, others were weak, and others had died. And he gave them specific instructions. So he did tell them what they'd done wrong, but also gave them a step-by-step guide of how to improve. And he told them they needed to examine themselves before they took communion, to ensure that they understood properly what they were doing, to make sure that they had the correct attitude. He told them to wait for everyone to arrive, that everyone should be doing it together. This is the message that everyone is equal, and we should share in this, and to eat it with the true purpose in mind. And if you do that, then you won't bring judgment on yourself, and you won't get sick, you won't become weak, and you won't die. And this practice has continued right up until today. I've been calling it the Eucharist. This comes from the Greek verb to give thanks, but there are lots of other names: Mass, Holy Communion, the Lord's Supper, the breaking of the bread, the Divine Liturgy. And it reminds Christians of the sacrifice that Jesus made. They can share in the death and the resurrection of Christ, and it unites Christians in their fellowship. And by celebrating the Eucharist, it gives them new strength to serve the Lord, as Christ is spiritually present there. It's a time of penance. They're able to ask for forgiveness of their sins and be reminded that their sins will be forgiven because of Jesus' sacrifice. Okay, guys, now you've watched this video, I want you to use these notes, answer those questions on the activity and upload them onto Plus Portal. Please remember to email me or WhatsApp me if you have any questions. That's what I'm here for, and hopefully I will see you guys soon. Take care, grade 9. Bye bye.